Hello grade 9s and 10s. I'm going to make you another video. I'm going to be reading Macbeth, Act 4, Scene 3. This is a bit longer and it wraps up the whole act. So we'll be having a quiz soon on this. I'll let you know when that's going to be. But for now, I'm going to read the scene and I'll stop and interpret it along the way. But as a reminder, Macbeth has gone to England to try to get help to fight against Macbeth, and while he's gone, his whole family gets murdered by Macbeth's hired murderers. Okay, so now Macduff is in England and he's tracked down Malcolm, who is King Duncan's oldest son, and he wants to get Malcolm to come back so that they can crown him king once they defeat Macbeth. But Malcolm is nervous because he knows Macduff works alongside Macbeth, and he doesn't really trust him. He doesn't know, is Macbeth just trying to lure him back to his death? And he's asking him, why did you leave your wife and children in Scotland if you are so afraid of Macbeth? That was a foolish thing for you to do. So he doesn't really trust him. So Malcolm makes a plan to try to test Macduff and see if he's really trustworthy. So Macduff was Leah's character, so I'm sorry, Leah, that you can't be acting this out. If you want to make a video and send it to us, that would be awesome. But anyway, so Malcolm's plan here is to tell Macduff how evil he is. So he just starts going on and on about what a horrible person he is, and Macduff says, well, he can't be as bad as Macbeth, so he's got to be better than Macbeth. Macbeth is so evil. But eventually, Macduff just despairs for Scotland, because what are the choices? Macbeth is such a horrible choice. Malcolm's such a horrible choice. He's just in total despair, and that's when Malcolm knows he can trust him. He can actually trust him, and so Malcolm backtracks and says, okay, I'm not like that at all. I'm not that kind of horrible person. You can trust me, and yes, I trust you, and I will help you. So, okay, so you can follow along with me, Act 4, Scene 3, if you want to, and I'll read it. Okay, so we've got Malcolm and Macduff. Malcolm says, let us seek out some desolate shade, and there weep our sad bosoms empty. Let us rather hold fast the mortal sword, and like good men, bestride our downfallen birthdom. Each new morn, new widows howl, new orphans cry, new sorrows strike heaven on the face, that it resounds as if it felt with Scotland, and yelled out like syllable of dolor. What I believe, I'll wail. What know, believe, and what I can redress, as I shall find the time to friend, I will. What you have spoke, it may be so, perchance. This tyrant, whose sole name blisters our tongues, was once thought honest. You have loved him well. He has not touched you yet. I am young, but something you may deserve of him through me, and wisdom to offer up a weak, poor, innocent lamb to appease an angry God. So he says, you used to be friends with him. Maybe you're trying to trick me to offer me up like a poor, innocent lamb to Macbeth, so I can't trust you. Macduff says, I am not treacherous, but Macbeth is. A good and virtuous nature may recoil in an imperial charge, but I shall crave your pardon. That which you are, my thoughts cannot transpose. Angels are bright still, though the brightest fell. Though all things foul would wear the brows of grace, yet grace must still look so. I've lost my hopes, because all his hope was in Malcolm. Perchance even there where I did find my doubts. Why in that rawness left you wife and child, those precious motives, those strong knots of love without leave-taking? I pray you, let not my jealousies be your dishonors, but mine own safeties. You may be rightly just, whatever I shall think. Bleed, bleed, poor country, great tyranny, lay thou thy basest shore, for goodness dare not check thee. Wear thou thy wrongs, the title is afeard. Fare thee well, Lord, I would not be the villain that thou thinkest for the whole space that's in the tyrant's grasp, and the rich east to boot. Be not offended, I speak not as in absolute fear of you. I think our country sinks beneath the yoke. It weeps, it bleeds, and each new day a gash is added to her wounds. I think withal there would be hands uplifted in my right, and here from gracious England have I offer of goodly thousands. But for all this, when I shall tread upon the tyrant's head, or wear it on my sword, yet my poor country shall have more vices than it ever had before, more suffer, and more sundry ways than ever by him that shall succeed. So he said, when I do defeat Macbeth, when I stomp on his head, and or when I cut his head off with my sword and then put his head on my sword and carry it around, my country will have more evil than it did before, and it will suffer way more than it did before under Macbeth, because I am such a horrible person. Macduff says, what should he be? It is myself, I mean, in whom I know all the particulars of vice so grafted, that when they shall be opened, black Macbeth will seem as pure as snow, and the poor state esteem him as a lamb when compared with my confineless harms. Not in the legions of horrid hell can come a devil more damned in evils to top Macbeth. There's nothing in hell that's worse than Macbeth. And Malcolm's saying, well, I am. I grant him bloody. I know he's bloody, luxurious, avaricious, false, deceitful, sudden, malicious, smacking of every sin that has a name. But there's no bottom, none, in my voluptuousness. So he's saying, there is no end to my lust and sexual impropriety. He says, your wives, your daughters, your matrons, and your maids could not fill up the cistern of my lust, and my desire all continent impediments that did oppose my will. Better Macbeth than such a one to reign. Saying, I'm just so full of sexual lust, and I would just take all your wives and your daughters and do horrible things to them, and you're better off with Macbeth. Boundless intemperance in nature is a tyranny. It hath been the untimely emptying of the happy throne and fall of many kings. But fear not yet to take upon you what is yours. You may convey your pleasures in a spacious plenty and yet seem cold, the time you may so hoodwink. We have willing dames enough. There cannot be that vulture in you to devour so many as will to greatness dedicate themselves, finding it so inclined. He says, there's lots of women, just, it's okay. That if that's your fault, okay, well, that's fine. And Malcolm says, with this, there grows in my most ill-composed affection such a staunchless avarice that were I king, so he says, but not only that, I am so greedy that if I were king, I would take all the nobles' lands, I would cut off the nobles for their lands, desire his jewels and this other's house, and my more having would be as a sauce to make me hunger more, that I should forge quarrels unjust against the good and loyal, destroying them for wealth. So I'm so greedy that I would just take all the nobles' lands, take their jewels, steal their houses, and the more I got, the more I would want, and I would just start fights against the good and loyal people of my country just to take their money. Macbeth says, this avarice sticks deeper, grows with more pernicious root than summer seeming lust, and it hath been the sword of our slain kings. Yet do not fear. Scotland hath foisons to fill up your will of your mere own. All these are portable with other graces weighed. It says, okay, this is worse. This is a common problem, again, that kings have, but don't fear. We have lots of money. These problems are bad, but considering all your other good sides that you have, it's okay. But I have none. It says, I don't have good things. The king becoming graces such as justice, verity, temperance, stableness, bounty, perseverance, mercy, lowliness, devotion, patience, courage, fortitude. I have no relish of them. So he says, all those things that a good king should be, just and truthful and merciful, patient. I don't have any of those things. I abound in the division of each several crime, acting it in many ways. So every evil thing that could happen, he does it in many different ways. Nay, had I power, I should pour the sweet milk of concord into hell, uproar the universal peace, confound all unity on earth. I would do everything evil to destroy the world. And then finally, Macduff has had enough. Oh, Scotland, Scotland. If such a one be fit to govern, speak. I am as I have spoken. Fit to govern? No, not to live. Says, you're not fit to be the king. You don't deserve to live. O nation miserable, with an untitled tyrant bloody sceptred, when shalt thou see thy wholesome days again? Since that the truest issue of thy throne by his own interdiction stands accursed, and dost blaspheme his breed. Thy royal father was a most sainted king. The queen that bore thee, oftener upon her knees than on her feet, died every day she lived. Fare thee well. These evils thou repeatest upon thyself have banished me from Scotland. O my breast, thy hope ends here. So Macduff is utterly devastated, and he just thinks there's no hope for Scotland. And then Malcolm finally realizes he can trust him, so he says, Macduff, this noble passion, child of integrity, hath from my soul wiped the black scruples, reconciled my thoughts to thy good truth and honor. Devilish Macbeth by many of these trains have sought to win me into his power, and modest wisdom plucks me from over-credulous haste. But God above deal between thee and me, for even now I put myself to thy direction, and unspeak mine own detraction. Here abjure the taints and blames I laid upon myself for strangers to my nature. It says, okay, I'm going to be honest with you now. All those bad things I've said about myself aren't true. He says, I am yet unknown to woman. So, he's not lustful. He's a virgin. He's never been with a woman before. Never was forsworn. Scarcely have coveted what was mine own. At no time broke my faith. Would not betray the devil to his fellow, and delight in no less in truth than life. My first false speaking was this upon myself. So the first time I told a lie was what I did just now. I'm a truthful person. I'm not lustful. I'm not greedy. What I am truly is thine and my poor country's to command. I belong to you. You can tell me what to do. I want to serve my country. Whether indeed before thy here approach, old seaward with 10,000 warlike men, already at a point was setting forth. Now we'll together. So he already had a plan. He already had 10,000 men set to go attack Macbeth, and he said, now we can go together. And the chance of goodness be like our warranted quarrel. Why are you silent? Such welcome and unwelcome things at once, 'tis hard to reconcile. So he's just kind of like, he's really devastated at first, but now he's really happy, and he's just kind of like, ah. Okay, so then a doctor comes in. Okay, so that's a good half of that. Okay, and then, Malcolm, well, more anon, so we'll talk more later. Here comes the king forth, I pray you. Aye, sir, there are a crew of wretched souls that stay his cure. Their malady convinces the great essay of art, but at his touch, such sanctity hath heaven given his hand, they presently amend. I thank you, doctor. What's the disease he means? 'Tis called the evil, a most miraculous work in this good king, which often since my here remain in England I have seen him do. How he solicits heaven himself best knows, but strangely visited people, all swollen and ulcerous, pitiful to the eye, the mere despair of surgery, he cures, hanging a golden stamp about their necks, put on with holy prayers, and 'tis spoken to the succeeding royalty he leaves the healing benediction. With this strange virtue he hath a heavenly gift of prophecy, and sundry blessings hang about his throne that speak him full of grace. So he's saying the King of England has this strange power to be able to heal people who are sick. Okay, Ross comes in. See who comes here. My countryman, but yet I know him not. My ever gentle cousin, welcome hither. I know him now. Good God betimes remove the means that makes us strangers. Sir, amen. Stands Scotland where it did? Alas, poor country, almost afraid to know itself. It cannot be called our mother, but our grave, where nothing but who knows nothing is once seen to smile, where sighs and groans and shrieks that rent the air are made, not marked, where violent sorrow seems a modern ecstasy. The dead men's knell is there scarce asked for who, and good men's lives expire before the flowers in their caps, dying or ere they sicken. I'm saying, so Scotland is not doing well. It's like a grave for us all, and there's so many people dying all the time that they've just lost track of who's dying, because Macbeth is such a bloody ruler. Oh, relation too nice and yet too true. What's the newest grief? That of an hour's age does hiss the speaker, each minute teems a new one. How does my wife? Why, well, And all of my children? Well, too. The tyrant hath not battered at their peace? No, they were well at peace when I did leave them. Be not a niggard of your speech. How goes it? When I came hither to transport the tidings which I have heavily borne, there ran a rumour of many worthy fellows that were out, which was to my belief witnessed the rather for that I saw the tyrant's power afoot. Now is the time of help. Your eye in Scotland would create soldiers, make our women fight to doff their dire distresses. Be it their comfort we are coming thither. Gracious England hath lent us good seaward and 10,000 men, an older and a better soldier none than Christendom gives out. Would I could answer this comfort with the like, but I have words that would be howled out in the desert air where hearing should not latch them. What concern they, the general cause, or is it a fee grief due to some single breast? No mind that's honest, but in it shares some woe, though the main part pertains to you alone. They're saying, there's some bad things, and it's mainly to do with you, Macduff. If it be mine, keep it not from me. Quickly let me have it. Let not your ears despise my tongue forever, which shall possess them with the heaviest sound that ever yet they heard. I guess at it. Your castle is surprised, your wife and babes savagely slaughtered. To relate this manner, were on the quarry of these murdered deer to add the death of you. Merciful heaven! What, man, never pull your hat upon your brows, give sorrow words. The grief that does not speak whispers the overfraught heart and bids it break. My children too, wife, children, servants, all that could be found. And I must be from thence, my wife killed too? I have said. And Malcolm tries to comfort him, but he's not married and he doesn't have children, and he says, be comforted, let's make us medicines of our great revenge to cure this deadly grief. So he says, it's okay, let's use this to help us take revenge on Macbeth. And Macduff says, he has no children. All my pretty ones? Did you say all? Oh, Hellkite, all? What, all my pretty chickens and their dam in one fell swoop? Dispute it like a man. Malcolm's saying, stop just complaining about it and do something about it the way a man would. Take revenge. I shall do so, but I must also feel it as a man. I cannot but remember such things that were most precious to me. Did heaven look on and would not take their part? Sinful Macduff, they were all struck for thee. Not that I am, not for their own demerits, but for mine, fell slaughter on their souls. Heaven rest them now. Be this the whetstone of your sword. Let grief convert to anger. Blunt not the heart, enrage it. So he's saying, turn your sadness into anger to fight Macbeth. Oh, I could play the woman with mine eyes and braggart with my tongue, but gentle heavens, cut short all intermission. Front to front, bring thou this fiend of Scotland and myself. He wants to go face to face with Macbeth. Within my sword's length set him. If he escape, heaven forgive him too. This tune goes manly. Come, go we to the king. Our power is ready. Our lack is nothing but our leave. Macbeth is ripe for shaking, and the powers above put on their instruments. Receive what cheer you may. The night is long that never finds the day. Okay, so that's the end of that scene. That's quite long, but basically what you need to know from that is that Macduff seeks out Malcolm. Malcolm doesn't know if he can trust him, so he says all kinds of bad things about himself to see Macduff's reaction. Macduff is devastated for Scotland. Macbeth realizes he can trust him, so he's going to help him. And then Ross brings the news to Macduff that his wife and children are killed, and he is obviously very, very sad, and now he's angry, and he's going to take revenge on Macbeth. And we're leading up to Act 5, which is the last act. So I'll let you know when the quiz is going to be, but for now, the summary is due, I think, Thursday night. So, all right, thanks for watching.